Welcome to the ArmChair GM's Podcast with your hosts Dylan Simpson and Chris Ruback. Welcome. We are very excited to be back under a new name. It's been quite some time since we've been around. For those of you that don't know, I'm Dylan and that is Chris. And here we are.
It's been what, but how many months? It's been at least 8 months, right?
I think we did one episode of the old podcast in the last 8 months or so.
That's fair. Yeah.
But here we are.
It's moving on.
ArmChair
GM,
just like the Flames did when they let Seattle take Giordano. Let's not get him back.
Yeah.
Start off with a bang, right?
Right.
So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna kind of introduce ourselves and how we became fans and stuff, and then we're just gonna move on to we picked 3 players. We're gonna talk about who are polarizing for different reasons among the fan base this season, and kind of pick apart their play and pick apart why we like them or why we don't, and that's about it.
Yeah, I think in normal fashion every week we're probably going to do 3 players in the same way. Discuss salary, discuss play, discuss whatever kind of the topic is of them. Right, the 3 that we selected this week I think are pretty much topics after every game, if not every couple of games for sure. Yeah. This week we've selected to talk about Nikita Zadorov, who's been, he's been talked about a lot for a lot of different reasons this year, and it's been exciting to watch. We've got, Mikael Backlund that could potentially become our next captain, but we'll discuss him because he's also been a topic, and he gets a lot of hate for. I don't know. Well, you and I see eye to eye. Yeah, you and I see eye to eye on that, and it's interesting to watch other people talk about him. And then, I will admit my wrong on Jacob Markstrom tonight. He's been exciting, and we're going to dive into that a little bit. So I think we've got some good topics this week.
Yeah. Excited to get into it. Speaking of which, you want to let everyone know maybe a little bit about your fandom.
A little bit about my fandom. Chris Ruback here. Obviously, people that know me know that I'm a bit of a Flames fan. I've been a Flames fan well since I was 6 years old when they moved to Calgary from Atlanta. So it's basically the only team I've ever known / cheered for my entire life. So I guess that's going on. I'm not 47 going on 48. So that's weird that I've been cheering on them for that long, but I am 47, 48. Anyways, I don't know if people have seen any of my man cave photos throughout the different Flames groups on social media, but I have a passion. I love collecting. I love sitting in my room watching games, cheering, yelling, screaming. I don't know. I feel drinking. I cheers. I like to drink my beer while I do so. This room seems to be the most effective way and place to yell for players to shoot because it seems to work.
I need one of those.
Yeah, I don't know. Whenever I have my old house I had years ago when I would yell shoot, they didn't, but now they're doing it. So there's obviously some sort of a microphone here. It's connecting to the dome, so it's fantastic. So yeah, no, I mean I lived through the lean years of the 90s going into the 2000. Obviously the 04 run was super exciting. And then watching, I think one of my favorite things that kind of really got me back into being pumped up mode, aside from 04 obviously, was beating Vancouver. And that series was phenomenal. being a longtime fan and watching that last goal go in by a fan favorite. It was a lot of fun. Anyways, I've been a fan all my life. I can be critical. I expect nothing but the best from my team. I say great things. I say probably not great things if people don't agree, but it's all in the best interest of the this logo right here. Favorite logo. Go Flames.
Yep. All right. That's the right way to be, I think, is being loyal towards players is can be a good thing. But also realizing that sometimes getting rid of a player or moving on from a player, however you want to say it, can be way more effective and better for the logo, right? And that's one thing you and I kind of see eye to eye on. We disagree on many things, but for sure we both want to see. I go for this logo, right? So it's a little different.
But, speaking of those lean years of the 90s or late 90s and coming into 2000, right? Damn.
Yeah.
Damn. That just brings me back to just such a horrible time of the franchise. But you know what? We move forward from it, and and I get everybody's love for Blassie. I get it. I rip on you for it all the time, but I said, for me, it's just that old reminder. It's like getting kicked in the nuts when you're in high school, and you always have a bit of a hatred for that sort of activity.
Right. All right. Well, for those of you who don't know, I'm Dylan, and I've been a fan basically my whole life. I started playing hockey when I was 3 or 4 or something like that, and didn't really have a favorite team. I grew up in a small town called Jasper, which is approximately halfway in between Edmonton and Calgary. And didn't really like obviously I liked Gretzky when I was a kid, but he that was towards the end, if not after the end of his time in Edmonton. And I wasn't a huge fan of the Oilers. I ended up once I got more of a relationship with my dad, I ended up inheriting his love for the Flames, and that's kind of how I became a fan. And then later on in life, I stopped playing hockey when I was like 8 or something like that, and 8 or 9 or whatever. And then I stopped watching for several years. I didn't really have any interest. I had different things to do with my life, I suppose. Kind of lost touch with hockey and everything about it, and the Flames, and most things about the Flames. And then I spent a spring with my dad. He had a trapper's cabin out by Longview, Alberta, which is not too far out from Calgary. And there was no TV. It was 2004. It was in the playoffs during that magical run. And yeah, my dad and I sat there, every night after dark, and by candlelight, actually, because there was no electricity. We had a battery powered radio, and we listened to all of the games. I believe it was round 3 and 4 and a little bit around 2. We listened to all the games on the radio, and that re-sparked my love of something. It was kind of brought me back to something that I loved, that I had lost touch with, and I never really looked back after that. And I've been a huge fan. And
you've told me this story a few times, and every time you do, I instantly get Peter Moore in my brain, and some of those calls during that run still will give me goosebumps. On occasion, I'll just go into YouTube and track it down, right? His best of for that run. So unbelievable.
Absolutely.
like,
He's
just
such a
unreal.
good storyteller, and
Yeah.
it really helped you be able to see what was on the radio. And like, the guys who are on the radio now, Labardius and Wills and all those guys, they do a pretty good job too. And
Mhm.
I actually quite enjoy them on the radio. I still listen to the radio sometimes when I don't have a TV present.
Yeah.
But nobody quite tells a story like Peter Marr, and during that time, one of the best, if not the best player in franchise history was at his peak. Winning
Mhm.
Art Ross and Rocket Richard trophies, and I think a Hart as well. I could be wrong there. It was quite a time to get back into it for sure. And then basically since then, it's been kind of mushy middle, still sticking by him, but mushy middle. Some years are harder to watch than others, but here we are.
The old 6 to 10 spot, baby. Calgary Flames. Right?
Oh yeah, that never getting a decent pick, and when we do pick,
come on now, he's amazing. He's amazing playing for somebody else.
A lot of players are.
Yeah.
Just like Lindholm is amazing playing for the Flames and not the Hurricanes.
Well, and that's fair, right? I mean, yeah, that's fair. I mean, how can you not love that acquisition that Brad made? I mean, I guess technically the 3 players he threw out of town to acquire, our one of our number one pairing defenseman and number one center.
That's the core of the team right there. Like obviously the wingers are part of the core, and the rest of the defense are part of the core and all that. But like, your number 1 or 2 defenseman and your number 1 center, that's like the core of the team, right? Like,
well, yeah, you bring in Lindholm, who plays the amount of minutes he does on the number 1 line, who plays just an amazing 200-foot game, one of the best in the league in my opinion, top 5.
Yeah.
I'll give it top 5. He's number 1 power play. He's number 1 penalty kill. He never complains. He just goes to work every single game.
And he works so hard. And like the fact that you can play that much of a defensive role, play, every penalty kill that you're not in the box, and like most of it, and play against the other team's best players most of the time, if not then their second best players, which is still pretty amazing, and still score, what are we at, 15 goals in the last 14 games or something, sort of like that. Like
and he does it with such a smile on his face, right? Like he's just always he's a good team guy. Even in the interviews, he's joking, having fun with whoever's sitting with him. He's on the bench, he's chatting, he's doing everything, right? Like,
absolutely.
I've nothing but good things to say about Elias.
The epitome of a shit-eating grin right there with his dirty teeth.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
I'm just noticing this right now, but I like how you're covering up Monahan's face with that mask as if it's on the other side there. As if he's you're ashamed to have your Monahan over there.
Well, at first I put him up as a joke because of COVID, and then now that we're not doing masks or anything, I just don't even want to look at the fucking guy.
Yeah.
Anyways, get down there on the 4th line where you belong.
Yeah. Imagine what our playoff run could be like. I mean, I'm comfortable saying that we're going to make the playoffs at this point. But imagine,
I'm comfortable saying that too. But I'm optimistic. I'm hopeful.
Yeah.
But I'm tempering my expectations. Like how many times have we been bitten in the ass since 2015 with this core, right?
Yeah. Once we get there, I'm not so, again, I'm optimistic like you, but realistically optimistic, I think is the way to say that.
Yeah. I think it'll be a different team in playoffs because of Sutter. because the difference in their game this year has been obviously noticeable, right? Their possession, their possession, their speed,
they've been playing a playoff style game like since the second or third week of the season. And let's segue that into talking about one of the players we were going to talk about, Nikita Zadorov.
Oh, speaking of playoff style hockey, right? Kid hits like a truck. It's like a truck.
He's hitting less now, I've noticed, but he's in defensive position. So first 2 weeks of the season, 2-3 weeks, and also the preseason. The preseason was hard to watch.
It was him and his defensive partner, right?
Who most of what we're going to say about Zadorov, I feel like we both probably feel about Gabranson as well.
Even more so for Gabranson for me, right? But I mean, how do you not give the man props? I mean, he's listened to Sutter clearly, right? Like, that's all I heard from people that
and smiling,
happy. Abs fans that have watched him, Chicago fans that have watched him, are like, he hits a lot, but he's always out of position, not a great defender and stuff like that. But I mean, you watch him now, and I mean, he's in position. He's working his ass off to get back into the play. Like
he's making shots. He's making, generally speaking, pretty wise, decisions to pinch in. Or there was maybe it was halfway through our big winning streak there. We had the 10-game winning streak we had there, but it was a little scary to see how often he was going behind the offensive net and carrying the puck.
It makes me nervous too.
Yeah. Especially a guy like Brody used to do it, and Brody had trouble getting back in time. And Brody's got Connor McDavid level wheels, as
I was going to say he's a little bit quicker than Nikita, right? But I mean, that being said, though, I mean, I haven't really witnessed very many, like a handful of times at most times where hasn't been able to get back, at least not necessarily being the first one back, but at least back enough to affect the play.
So I think a big part of that is the defensive responsibility, and I'm going to give a lot of players credit here. For most of the season, the defensive responsibility of guys like basically every line, right? Like you got guys like Backlund and Lindholm, and even Gaudreau this year, which is crazy good to see.
Right. I mean, everybody, you can tell it's by committee, right? It's a team philosophy that defense happens every single time. Everybody's coming back hard every shift. There's no floaters. We're not, if the play's coming back into the Flames end, there's 5 guys there. Which is really refreshing to see. Something we've always talked about Sutter hockey. Well, it's defense first. It's not flashy. It's not exciting. Blah blah blah. But I mean, I'll tell you what. Like yes, it's defense, but the possession game and then that flash going the other direction, and it's been fun, right?
And if you compare it to his Stanley Cup winning teams with the LA Kings, like Gaborik, I guess, was a little flashy, but his star players were like Dustin Brown for the most part, and like guys like that who Carter who were never I guess Carter was like slightly flashy, but not really. I
wouldn't call him flashy either. Flashy. He's just a good hockey player, right?
And so he won a cup or a couple cups with like very little flash in the lineup at all, and just grinding other teams down. And now he has a team who's got, a very flashy line, to be honest, who can also grind the opponent down, and then 3 other lines that can grind the opponent down pretty good for the most part. Right. So
for sure,
it'll be interesting to see. But as far as Zadorov is concerned, like I can't really put into words how much better he has been than I expected, especially after the first, couple weeks of the season. I thought it was going to be a really, really long year.
I thought it would be too. And if you look at when he came in, he had that kind of bad taste in his mouth, right? Like he wasn't sure if this is where he wanted to be at all. He held out to the end, only did the 1-year contract as a see how it goes type contract. So I'm wondering, I'm honestly curious what his mindset is now as far as moving forward next year and whatnot. So, I mean, he's looking. I would like to have him continue on with the Flames.
I would too, but he qualifies at $3 million.
Well, exactly, right, and like he's
yeah. It'll be a tough one, especially with all the other, restricted and unrestricted free agents, and like as much as you're not a huge fan of Shillington, you got to know that Brad's going to be, prioritizing Shillington probably a lot more than Zadorov.
Won't that change the dynamic of a Sutter run team though, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think a big heavy hitting defenseman is, a fifth, sixth big heavy hitting defenseman is probably a little bit easier to replace.
Yeah.
Than a high octane, speedy, poor man's Erik Karlsson, from 5-6 years ago type of player.
I mean, let's simmer down with.
That's why
poor man's Erik Karlsson and not Erik Karlsson.
Yeah, that's why I said poor man.
Yeah. I mean, contract wise, ability wise, all things playing the game wise. And it's I don't. I mean, as you know me, I'm being a long time old time fan. Yeah. I mean, I miss the '80s days where you just run over motherfuckers, right? Mm-hmm. I much prefer watching Zadorov play than I do Shillington, and you know that. I've never. Yeah, I do. I've never minced words on that. I don't. They both can get into their own defensive liability situations. I just much rather have somebody that does that because he's out of position hitting somebody, opposed to out of position because he fell over or just simply lost the puck. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, like that contract right now, what is it? 3.75
for who?
For Zadorov.
No, I think it's 2.95.
Is it? Okay. Cap friendly has it at 3.75.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I thought it was 2.95. Oh no, that's Goodbranson. That's 1.95.
Yeah, I think 1.95 for Goodbranson, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So then he qualifies at 4?
He's a UFA.
Oh.
At the end of the contract, right? But I mean, like he took this one to arbitration, so I think that's kind of scary, right? So I believe they settled at a little bit more for the one season. Is kind of where I'm thinking, right?
But he's going to go unrestricted, and somebody will pay him. Somebody will pay him what he's looking for.
I think so, especially after the year he's had, right? Yeah. I don't know if I'd pay him 4. I'd pay him 3.75 again, but I wouldn't pay him 4. Yeah. 4.5, that's for sure. Like he's still third pairing on the team, right? So it's not like he's taken over somebody's role. He's just been really good at his role.
Yeah. And the thing is like, who do you move out, like aside from Shillington, I guess, but they're going to do, move heaven and earth to try and sign Shillington.
I don't know if they will though, right? Like he's always had, the 1 year. And it's always been prove me years. And don't get me wrong, his offensive play has been stellar this year. Yeah. He's getting points. I don't know that his defensive game has really improved that much.
I mean, it hasn't. He's I And this last stretch, especially since he went down awkwardly into the boards there the other night, he's had
Yes.
he's had a lot harder time getting back.
Yeah.
But for the most part this season, there's been quite a few instances where I was like really impressed with his catching up with the player, the player who's like about to go on a breakaway and angling them off or muscling them off even. I think that his defensive game leaves much to be desired, but there is still that occasional time you look at and you're like, holy smokes, he's got it in him. It's just, how do we unlock that?
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. Actually, I mean, he does have the ability, and you see flashes of it. He's got great speed, and you're absolutely right. Since he went down with that hit, I said it in the Flames Hub group chat last night. He just looks like Bambi on ice since then.
Yeah,
like he's not even standing up straight anymore. Like he's bent over, and he looks awkward.
It's funny, like him and Mangiapane play a very similar game, but Mangiapane's a forward, but neither of them can stay on their feet, and they both play super hunched over and make the occasional incredible play from their Bobby Orr diving position.
Yeah. That's I mean, like, and I've said it to you before. I mean, I would be pretty stoked to have Shillington as a winger.
I'd like to see that at least given a try. So I suppose we've talked very little about Zadorov and a whole bunch about some other.
That's okay. But, so what do we give? What's his grade? What's Zadorov's grade now on?
In relation to what I thought he was going to be,
mm-hmm.
I'm going to give him an A+. But in relation to our defenseman as a whole, I'm going to give him about a B.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I would agree with both those. I had higher expectations for him than you did at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would give him a B+ as the season's been on. He, to me, hasn't done anything to warrant any bad press.
No, not at all.
He's been pretty damn good, and like
he
I said,
called Eric Francis out at the beginning of the year too, and
right?
that I absolutely love.
That, you know what, you're right. A-. Fuck Eric Francis. Yeah.
So how do you feel about possibly being a top 4 defenseman this year for the first time in your career, Nikita? Actually, last year I played, all year.
Yeah.
Maybe you should do your research a little better.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, that was like his first interview with Francis, wasn't it?
It was his first interview with James, I think. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Good old Eric Francis. Inappropriate all the time.
Yeah. Well, shall we move on? Maybe you want to talk about Markstrom or Backlund?
Well, I mean, let's talk about a player that half of the Flames Hub wants to get rid of, but also at the same time, you and I have loved him as a player for many years. Michael
800
Backlund.
games, exactly.
Damn, we like it. Drafted by Daryl Sutter, right?
Yep.
Drafted by Daryl.
So
Sutter.
if you're drafted by Daryl Sutter, you're going to be a defensively sound player.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, really, to have, like he's exceeded my expectations on so many different things. I wouldn't normally consider Swedish players to be that defensive, but lo and behold, our number 1 and 2 centers
are both defensive players.
Yeah.
And Swedish.
Like it just blows me away, right? He was drafted 24th overall in 2007, I believe, right? 2006, 2007.
I want to say 6. I could be wrong, but
you say 6, I'll say 7. We'll let the fans decide in the comments.
Well, I mean, if it was, who knows? It's one of the two.
Yeah, you're right. 800 games.
Yeah,
look at him. Had a kid. And he's just quietly gone about his business every year. He's always been, he's never been the flashy point guy, but he's always been such a good 200-foot player. And I actually, you know what? I'm not going to say always. His first 5 years,
it was a struggle for him to find who he was going to be and what he was going to be as a player. I was listening to an interview. I can't remember who it was. He was talking about, but he gave all sorts of credit to someone about that. Going down to Abbotsford, I guess it probably was at the time, and then coming back up and having a defined role and kind of a goal of the player he wanted to be, and instead, because he always could score in junior and in other leagues, right? And he couldn't, he would be streaky, but he couldn't consistently score.
Yeah.
And that's fine to me. It's, if you're a PK1 and a second line shutdown center, if you go several games without scoring, but you're shutting down the other players, the best players on the other team, that's perfect.
Well, that's right. That's his assignment every night. Is he's going against the number one or number two lines. Then it's more often than not elite talent coming at him.
Yeah,
and he's so effective at shutting them down, or at least limiting the chances and getting back in the play and stopping the puck, stopping the pass.
And he goes through stretches where he gets, seven-ish goals in 10 games,
Sure.
twice a year. And then the rest of it's kind of a little, spread out throughout the year generally. But he,
Well, but I mean, when you look at it, everybody's favorite right now, Mangiapane, is the same way, right? He comes out of the gate just flying.
Yep.
Kicks some serious ass till mid-November, and then you didn't hear shit from him for 2 months.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm not harping on Mangiapane. That's not what I'm doing there. But I mean, we're talking about streaky players, right? I mean, he had all his goals, boom, 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 and that's Backlund's been again has suffered from that too, right?
And it's really interesting. And I know we're on Backlund, and we'll get back there in a quick sec. But it's really interesting about Mangiapane to me is most of the time that he wasn't scoring, he was getting more ice time.
Yeah.
The times that he has been scoring, he's been getting that fourth or third line ice. Right. But the whole time he wasn't scoring, he was getting the second line ice. So maybe we've got a guy who thrives off of playing less minutes,
right,
but can put up 30 playing way less, which is pretty interesting to me.
That is interesting. It could be, it also could be that just him and Backlund don't gel, right? And that happens.
That line 2 nights ago with Mangiapane and Ruzicka and what's it, Dubé, I think?
I think it was Dubé, yeah.
No, it was Toffoli.
Was Toffoli? Oh yeah, because Lewis was on the second. That's right.
Yeah,
that was against Edmonton, right?
Yeah. That was that was really impressive.
That was impressive, yeah.
And next episode, I want to talk about Ruzicka a little bit because.
All right, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, but. Yeah, as far as Backlund is concerned, he's what's his exact salary?
His salary?
Yeah.
His salary is an ad. His salary is 5.35.
Okay.
With modified no trade clause right now until 2024.
Yeah. So is the contract a little bit expensive?
Sure.
Yeah, probably. It's not.
It's expensive when you look at point production.
Yeah. There's about 4 or 5 contracts on the team that are way worse.
Sure.
As far as play on the ice as compared to salary. But anyways, I think that
for what he brings to the team, his role and just his 200-foot ability. I mean, and I said this last year, I said it the year before, I said it publicly, through via the podcast, last year, is that our centers are as follows: Lindholm, Backlund, Monahan, and whoever the fuck else you want. Monahan to me has fallen to the 4th. I would much rather have Rez up there for the 3rd in almost every situation compared to
now Monahan's face-offs have been stellar this year.
He's what it
but the rest of his game is quite frankly shit.
Yeah. and by his face-offs being blah blah blah, he's like 0.6 higher than his average. He's still 52, which is not saying it's bad, but he's had some really impressive games. Like he had a really impressive game against.
I think he had 64% like 3 games ago or something like that.
78.
Oh,
yeah, 78%.
I must be thinking of a different game then,
yeah.
But I'm pretty sure it was like 64. But either way, 78's even better, and that's crazy considering how many face-offs your centers are taking. Against
was that against Minnesota?
It could have been.
I'm going to say Minnesota, but let me check that. So one thing when it comes to Minnesota and to think about is their face-off is horrendous.
Yeah, well, I mean, their number 1 center is quite frankly, Kaprizov is making Ryan Hartman look like an absolute stud. He's making Ryan Hartman look like a bona fide number 1 center. And Ryan Hartman is like, no disrespect, he's a great hockey player, but he's a number 3 on most teams.
So apparently I was just 100% inaccurate. I'll admit my wrong. According to Hockey Reference, against Minnesota on the 1st of March, he was 38.5%.
Oh, that's really bad.
Yeah, against one of the worst.
Yeah, but he's been great on the draw like that.
Yeah. Maybe so next game against Montreal is 83.3, followed by Colorado is 77.8. And then Edmonton, he was 50. And then last night against Washington, he was 16.7.
Ooh.
He had 6 draws.
Really bad last night. Let's be honest. Like that whole line was just.
I was going to say it wasn't just him, right? Like the whole team was just terrible.
Yeah, and like specifically that line. But you're right. The whole team was. There's been a few games recently, but I mean, when the schedule has been this crazy, not that I want to make excuses. But yeah,
he's been 52.8 this year for Sean.
Yeah,
which is great.
But yeah, I mean, you want to move on to Markstrom, I suppose.
I guess so. So do I start this with an apology to?
I think you should make a public address, my friend.
Okay, this is for. I'm gonna apologize. I'm just gonna look right in the camera. Steve King, the Flames Hub. You know what? I harped on it last year. Kept telling you about how shit Markstrom was. I'm gonna pull back on that a little bit. I'm not gonna say he's brilliant. I'm not gonna say he's great, but he's been pretty damn good for us this year. He's his numbers have been way above his average. He's actually managed to bring up his career total by 0.02 in his career average for save percentage. So, that's fine.
When you play that many years, that's actually quite a bit.
That's pretty impressive, right? And having goals against average of 2.14. Okay. Steve, I was wrong. I'm sorry, buddy. I hope you still love me. And yeah, if you don't, well, fuck it. I don't give a shit. Anyways, yeah, no, what more can I say? He's been great this year. He really has been.
So
9.26 on the save percentage and 2.14 in the goals against with 8 shutouts. 8 shutouts.
Which is fucking nuts. And he's been sitting on 8 for quite a while now.
He has, right? He
had
hasn't
8
had a
in the
lot
first
of
half, I think, or 7 in the first half or something like that.
Yeah, he had one like a couple of weeks ago. He hasn't not had a lot of help from his
defensive core in the past up until this year.
Well, even in the past 3-4 games, right?
Oh, and yeah.
Like he's really had a lot of he's been hammered the last couple of games. So
in saying that, and this is going to be a little bit of a different direction I'm going here, but a lot of people are like, especially Flames fans, rightfully so, maybe 3 weeks ago or whatever, but we're very sore about what's his face there in New York, Shesterkin. Maybe not deserving it because Markstrom has all these shutouts and is doing crazy good. But if you look at how Markstrom performs when the defensive structure kind of dissipates a little bit, he struggles. He played. Don't get me wrong. When the defensive structure is good, and you're always going to let grade A opportunities through. You're never not going to let grade A opportunities through. But when the defensive structure is strong, he gets those. When the defensive structure isn't strong, he doesn't get those as much. Whereas the Vezina front runner right now is Shesterkin, and I think that's because New York has much less of a defensive structure.
That's true, and let's be honest, his numbers are actually better than Markstrom's too, right?
Oh yeah, and that's with less of a defensive structure. That's aside from shutouts, his numbers are better.
Exactly.
Right? And I'm not shitting on Markstrom at all. I think Markstrom is the second, the runner-up right now in the Vezina Trophy race. And having the second, the runner-up on a team with the defensive structure and the coaching and the at times high octane offense and the ability to grind other opponents down that the Flames have, that's going to go far.
Well, that's right, and he's playing in the East where it's been better hockey than what we've seen, like say in the Pacific, right? There's a lot of garbage teams in the Pacific, and
we can't beat them.
We can't beat them, right? Exactly. We finally beat Edmonton. We finally beat a garbage team on Monday night.
Yeah, we've always had trouble with our division, like in the recent past. And
by recent, you mean 15 years, right?
Yeah.
Like it's so mind blowing to me. These terrible teams, and like the Flames have always been that team that plays for their competition for whatever reason, no matter who the coach is. They just can't wake up for the lower seeded teams or just whatever the case.
And there was, I think there's been a couple times this season that's happened, but for the most part this season, I think they've done a lot better at that.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's divisional teams that they've kind of, just want to grab by the scruff and just like, wake the fuck up.
Yeah.
These should be the ones. These are the ones you want to take out.
Absolutely. And then you go on the road and almost break a record, a team record for a road win streak. And then you come back home and then you almost do that. But a lot of those opponents were Central and Eastern teams, right?
Yeah.
but you still got to win those games, and that's really important. And
100%.
that's it's crazy how good the team has done, but they leave quite a bit to be desired as far as putting away the teams that they really need to put away. That being said, they've got a fairly healthy lead on the Pacific right now.
Right.
I think they still have tons of games left against the Pacific, but
yeah, it's time to buckle down and get these wins, right? We need these wins. As it sits right now, like if we win 50% of our games, we'll end up with over 100 points, which is freaking nuts. Right?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's great. It's a good position to be in. It's not comfortable enough for Daryl to feel comfortable putting Vladar in for more than once every 2-3 weeks, which is unfortunate because the kid needs to get some reps because we need a healthy Markstrom going into the playoffs.
Absolutely.
It's an absolute must. We need that. We need Markstrom to remain healthy for the rest of the season and get enough of a break and rest in between games that when it comes time to that grind time, we need him. Because I'm like you and probably every Flames fan out there. I'm fucking tired of losing in the first round.
Or not making it.
Or not. Yeah, or exactly. Just, missing that last game to end up in the ninth spot in the West. So you get a shit draft pick and then we just, keep, it's a fucking cycle, right? It's a goddamn cycle.
It is.
And
so let's break that this year. I think they have a good chance of it. Again, we both talked about it earlier. I think it's it's important to be cautious with your optimism, but I think that this year is more likely for us to go further than we usually do.
Yeah,
I think it's important for Tree Living to go out and make it a depth move or two. As far as a centerman and a defenseman or something like that. Because
I think we have good habits this year. So I think, there's a much better chance that we can, go second round, hopefully third. We have better habits and I mean, let's be honest, Daryl Sutter as a coach is vastly superior to Ward and Peters and fucking Golovson, let's stick Brody with Hamonic, even though they don't work, but let's try it out for an entire season to force it. Those guys or Brower on the power play, or as we used to laugh and joke, called the Brower play. Now, just coaches of the past, they just couldn't get the team to become a team where they sure look and feel like a team now. So that is where my optimism comes from. But just because I've been bitten too many times over the last 20 years that it's just like, ugh.
Yeah, my whole thing the last few weeks, people have been getting incredibly excited about, our 100% long playoff run. And my whole thing is, like you said, I've been bit too many times and I'm not going to be ready to be, I'm excited, but I'm not ready to be that excited until we get to about 3 wins into the first round and the other team has 1 or less. Right. And then I'll be excited.
You know what? I'll even be happy to see a game 6 in the first round as long as we're up in the series, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. That round against Colorado there a couple of years ago.
Oh, that was rough.
Oh shit. I don't think I've ever been so angry, yelling at the dome.
And you know what?
They just gave up.
And as much as everyone kind of puts that on the brilliance of McKinnon, which is true, McKinnon is, top 3 player in the league, in my opinion. Yeah. But I think a big part of that was the coming out party, and not even coming out party, but first few games in the league of Cale Makar. And
he looked good in that series.
We had zero answer for between him and McKinnon. We had an answer for McKinnon the first game. We had an answer for the team that game.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the games, like all of a sudden they threw this dynamic player. I believe he was right out of college. I think it was college he just came out of.
Yeah.
And just an absolutely dynamic.
He sure had a lot to prove against Calgary, though, didn't he?
Well, yeah, he's from Calgary.
I know, but like shit, he looked good.
He looked very good.
But I'll be honest with you. I mean,
that's not your kind of defender either.
Right. But I mean, he hasn't looked very good this year, has he? I mean, I haven't been following Colorado that much, but every time I've seen him play, he hasn't impressed me.
I believe he's the front runner right now.
Is he? Fuck's sake. Okay.
But again, it's an offensive trophy for defense.
Oh yeah, right.
Right.
They should just call it the left wing award. We're calling it the Norris. It's a left wing award, right?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of how it works. Unfortunately, call it what it is, but
yeah.
We can have that, and we will have that discussion about 3,000 times in the next 3 episodes. So,
65 points. Fuck's sake. Okay, never mind. Sorry, Mikael. I apologize.
65 points in how many games? Like 60?
54.
Yeah. Wow, he's got over. Oh, fuck.
21 goals, 44 assists. Fuck.
Oh my God.
Okay. Well, you know what? Apparently I've seen a couple of games where he may have been injured. I don't know.
Well, he didn't seem super great the other night, but then again, I mean, the Flames won, and the Avalanche, man, holy shit. What was it? I think they lost 1 game at home in the last like month and a half or something. Like, holy shit. That team is an absolute wagon. So the fact we beat them is pretty impressive.
Yeah. God. Okay. Well, there's my 2 times egg on the face for one podcast. That's not bad, right? Let's not make that the average. Jeez, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
So all right. So recap. We got Nikita Zadorov coming in at a B to B plus between the two of us for ratings.
Yeah.
We have Michael Backlund, who I'm not going to rate him. He's better than my shit rating.
I honestly I'm going to rate him, and slightly it's partially for the same reason that I hung the jersey up today. I'm going to have different jerseys up every day. But just to fucking piss people off, even though I kind of actually agree with it. I'm gonna put him at an A minus. Yeah,
I give him I mean, he's had a rough season compared to other years.
He's had a rough last 3 games or so, but I think
the whole team has, right? So this is where when we talk about the fact that Sutter's had them playing a playoff style game for the entire season, like, is this where fatigue starts to hit?
It's fatigue, and I also think that I mean, I try not to have whipping boys every time we lose or whatever, but
it's easy to find.
I know social media does like 100%, and like I do every once in a while, but I think a lot of people's whipping boy have been, basically Backlund and Monahan,
right,
the last few games. And I mean, as much as I agree with Monahan, I mean,
they've been team losses, right? Like we've managed to win a couple of these games while looking kind of piss poor on the ice, which is great, because that's what good teams do, right? They find a way to win, right? So even when they're playing not their best hockey, they can manage to squeak a point or 2 out of it, which is phenomenal. But I mean, as far as like most of the losses we've had, especially in the last 2 months, have been by committee. It's been a team loss.
Yeah,
I find it hard to pick and choose one player or 2 players. I mean, we can pick and choose 2 players that made gross errors pretty much every game that
Mhm.
have accounted for points potentially, or whatever. But as far as actually calling it, they're the reason why they lost. No, I don't buy that.
Oh man, I'm just gonna throw this out there.
Okay.
Man, the way people are treating Vladar after that game, like, dude,
I know.
was he good? No.
Yeah.
Was the rest of the team good? No. Was the rest of the team on a back-to-back? Yes. Are they playing
Against their most
possibly the best goal scorer in the history of the game?
Yeah.
Like, calm the fuck down.
Calm the fuck down. And like, coming off the second game of a back-to-back against our most heated rival in history, which is arguably one of the best rivalries in the game history.
Yeah.
Right? Like, come on. Like
let's
yeah.
They're coming down off of an endorphin high of playing a Battle of Alberta in Calgary, where they had half Edmonton. Like, that's the first time they've had like even close to a full building, like with Edmonton coming in, and like Edmonton, and like half of Edmonton was there and half of Calgary was there. And like, how long has it been since they had fan like chants in their own building of "Go Oilers" and "Go Flames Go" and "Let's go Oilers" and "Go Flames Go," and like
the atmosphere would have been amazing, right?
Absolutely. And then they're coming down from that the very next night to like Washington, who, don't get me wrong, exciting team, but like,
sure,
not many Washington fans there,
Well, that's right. Not many fans. They're not even in the same conference, let alone the same division. I mean, do people like to see Ovi play? Sure, of course they do. Right? He's obviously one of the best scorers of all time.
But there's probably some people there cheering for Ovi, but there's probably not a whole lot of people there cheering for the Capitals.
True.
Right?
Yeah, I'll give you that for sure. 100%. Yeah. If there was a dozen Washington jerseys in the stands, then great.
Yeah. But and to grade Markstrom, Markstrom is I think I really like Markstrom. I really liked him last year. I thought the team absolutely threw him out to dry last year, and then they also last year kind of put him in. He got injured, and then he played out of his mind. He kept the team alive in games every day, and then he got hurt, and then they threw him back in way too early, and then rode him the whole time. That was really frustrating to watch. But I do think he's slightly overrated by the fan base. I love him, but I'm not, like Vezina for sure. 8 shutouts doesn't mean everything for a goalie when the team plays such a defensively sound structure throughout most of those shutouts. But I'm still gonna put him at an A this year, probably. Sure. Yeah,
that's fair. Fair. I'm so. I wasn't super happy with him coming to Calgary to begin with, just because of his history with injuries and his career numbers.
Honestly, I remember when he signed, and I remember like that whole lead up to him almost signing. And I remember our group chat, our Flames group chat. You were like so worried that he was actually going to sign, and you were worried that it was going to be 6, and you were worried that it was going to be too long, and there was going to be a no move, and then it all happened.
I know. I'm just like, fuck, and then it happens. Like, God damn.
And I was, Brad. I remember being at work when I heard it, just getting off work, and you were just so upset, and literally everybody else in the group chat was insanely excited, and you were like, oh.
I mean, but look at it. So look at his numbers from last year to this year. Okay.
Oh, they're so drastic.
It's so drastic, and so that's why I will give him props for the season 100%. Last year, the first 10 games, he won those games. Last year,
15.
Do you give him 15? I give him 10. I give him 10.
But you're right. He fell off after that.
He did, right? He went into no man's land, and then he got injured. Then he came back. So I mean, so here's even strength.
But he was out of his mind for those first 10, 15, like out of his mind.
Absolutely.
And he was horrible and still won games because of him.
Yeah, 100%. I remember watching those first 10 games going, fuck, was I wrong? And then after that, like after game 15, like game 11 to 15 or 11 to 17, we didn't like he wasn't out of his mind anymore. He was still good, but it wasn't like those first 10. It was just like, holy fuck, look at this guy. Right?
And then it just slowly kind of disintegrated after that.
And then I'm like, God damn it, this is what I was saying. Right. And then he got injured, and like I told you. And this year, and I got some wood here. Yeah. I mean, but I mean, so I mean, if you look at his, do you know what his save percentage is this year for during shorthanded chance? It's
horrific.
It's fucking 976 or 978.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
During shorthanded.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just when I saw that a few days ago, I about fell out of my chair. Yeah.
So here's the thing. So that means that we watch our penalty kill and generally are really happy with the forwards and defensemen on the penalty kill, but also the best penalty killer is being the best penalty killer on top of that. That's strong. That's really
good. That's that's why we've had such success on the PK this year, obviously, right? And then power play, not nearly as good. 893, which is weird, but that's fine. Obviously we wouldn't have as many shots on goal against during that time.
Yeah, and like let's be honest, counterattacks, PK versus penalty kill, you're not really. Power play versus penalty kill.
Yeah.
You're not used to teams doing much else other than flipping the puck down the ice and going on a change. So generally speaking, you probably have one guy back, and it's a 2-on-1 or a breakaway. Right.
Yeah, that's fair. Right. Yeah. When I was looking at Hockey Reference there, and it was about a week and a half ago, and I was just kind of looking at some of their advanced stuff that they put in there, and when I saw that 978, about fell out of my chair.
Yeah. No, he's like, and his 5-on-5 is pretty good too, isn't it?
5-on-5, 928. So
yeah, it's not out of this world, but it's above average.
It's workable, right? You don't mind it.
Yeah.
It's above what his career average is.
Yeah.
Which is, all you can ask for, in my opinion.
And like the biggest thing I'm worried about, honestly, is
don't say it.
The old injury bug, because he's had it several times in his career.
Yeah.
Well,
so
we've talked about it many times. Even you and me have talked about it many times. Like, let's not pretend like anything we say other than the S word is actually a thing that's going to happen.
Right. That's fair. Okay. Yeah.
But like here I am being fucking worried about it, right? Because it's something he's always had, and like also in his for some people, like even you look at someone like Stajan, like when there's personal, like serious personal shit that happens, some guys use hockey to get through it, like Stajan. Whereas there's been some things like I remember a few years ago when Markstrom was in Vancouver, his dad had passed away or was super sick or something, and like he had to take like a couple months, which is fair, right? If
life has to come first, right? Life has to come first.
But that's still 2 months without your starting goalie, right? Or a month or whatever it was, right? I remember it being a long stretch, and like, so mental health always comes first. So if that's how you got to go. That's how you got to go. But it would, as much as I don't dislike Vladar as much as everybody who watches one game and reads everything off of one game,
Yeah.
you know, I still wouldn't want to ride Vladar into the playoffs, and I most certainly wouldn't want to either take Dustin Wolf out of the playoff push that he's going to have in Stockton.
That's going to be huge. That's going to be huge for his development too. By
exactly, and I wouldn't want to put him into an NHL playoff.
No,
absolutely fucking not. You know what I mean?
And there goes his career. Okay, great.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of mental health, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
So as things are winding down, just want to thank everybody that's been watching the show, especially if you've made it this far. Cheers to you. Couple things. Give us that like on YouTube. Share it with anybody you have. Also, as a bit of a side note, the fine young gentleman that's been working on our graphics for our logo and profile pics and things like that is running a pretty sweet gig with some t-shirt designs and some other various canvas work and whatnot. He's actually come up with a pretty neat concept with cityscapes with your favorite NHL colors. It's pretty sweet. His t-shirts are amazing. They're ready. It's Shopify, I believe. Ty Kennington and his links are going to be in the description of the podcast on YouTube.
Absolutely. Big shout out to him. Thanks a lot for and you did a lot of work for us kind of pro bono there for a little bit, and really appreciate it.
The man has actually exceeded what my expectations were, to be honest with you. I mean, we sent him a couple of pictures and a couple of concepts, and he fed us back about 45 different pictures in about an hour.
Yeah, and here we are expecting 2, and we get 45 very very high quality, with anywhere from subtle to large differences, and
100%.
I can't say good enough things about Ty. So
100%. So graphic design stuff. Check out his stuff for the t-shirts and prints, because it's pretty sweet. He's also going to develop us a Flames Hub line as well, which is going to be some good comedy value, I think, as well. So give him a follow and click his link and buy yourself a t-shirt, because all the cool kids are going to be wearing it. You'll see me wearing mine here in the next week or two when I get mine.
Me too.
So that being said, us boys at the ArmChair GM Podcast.
It's fucking great to be doing this again.
It's really fun to be back, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I was actually pretty happy I didn't have to look at you for like 8 fucking months, but it's fine. I'll swallow my pride and we'll move forward with it.
You can always put your fucking towel or one of those flags or something over top your computer screen, so you just have to listen to my voice instead of seeing my face.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm just going to do a share screen next time, then I don't have to look at it. It was fine.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I don't blame you. You're just jealous of the youth.
It's probably what it is, right? Right? It's probably what it is. Yeah, you don't have the gray.
Well, we always have to fit some chirps in here and there. So
that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. So that being said, Dubé's a loser, and thanks for tuning in for first of many. Have yourself a good night.
Cheers.